Hello, people. I'm Jaby KOAY, joined by KIRK.
What's up?
We just finished watching episode 8 of Scam 1992, Matador. Mm-hmm. And in this particular episode, they brought in an actor who was in one of the very first Bollywood films I had ever seen, which is Kapoor and Sons. Yeah, his name is Rajat Kapoor. It's very interesting seeing him in this show, which is about investigating someone who's doing something nefarious, because supposedly he had some problems, shall we say. I don't know if it was confirmed or if it was basically cleared up for him.
Like real life drama?
Real life drama.
Wow.
I don't know what happened with that. I didn't follow up. I know he's a very good actor. I mean, he was very good in this role.
Really convincing.
It's just interesting. It's in the throes of all the Me Too stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and
okay.
I don't know if any of it's true. It's like there's a lot of stuff that went out there. You don't know what's true, what's not, especially after the whole Johnny Depp thing. Anyway, about this. It was a very intense episode.
Yeah, a lot happened.
And a lot of it had to do with Rajat Kapoor. Who played Madhan.
Well, because in the previous episode, they gave him a really intriguing intro, which is like, they were kind of like, oh, we're going to bring in the big guns, and then they end the episode. Yeah. And it's like, so you already get that sense of like, oh my gosh, this guy is the biggest, baddest investigator that the CBI has. And then he comes along and he delivers, and it's so strange because, I don't know, I guess because he is tall as well. Like, he's a lot taller than the other people in the show. And so he's like physically intimidating. But then the manner in which he investigates, it's almost like looking at a snake or a shark or something. It's like there's something in the eyes, and even though he's smiling at you, it's chilling because you just don't know how he's gonna kind of go. Do you know what I mean? Like, he'll start off being really nice to someone, like acting nice, and then all of a sudden it turns and it becomes like physically violent somehow, or he starts threatening, and he's got so many different ways that he investigates. I mean, obviously that's why he's like one of the best investigators, right? And so it's really scary. Yeah.
The height thing I did consider, because he does have that sort of like very powerful presence about him. And it's interesting how sometimes people in positions of power will use that to their advantage. I remember talking to, this is going to feel a little bit unrelated, but it just came to my brain as I was watching the show. An old friend of mine, Jace Hall, who used to run like the video game division at Warner Brothers. He was in tight with the people at Blizzard, who made World of Warcraft and all that stuff. Gotcha. And he was in talks with Michael Eisner, who is, I think it was Michael Eisner, who's also a tall fella himself.
Who is Michael Eisner?
I think he ran Disney at one point.
Okay.
I just remember him talking about how Michael Eisner usually would use his height to intimidate people, but Jace Hall's really tall, so he couldn't use that on Jace Hall.
Okay.
And it just stuck out in my head because it never really occurred to me that is someone, like, intuitively you sort of know it inside, but like in terms of business dealings, I never thought that would be a means of intimidating someone and using it to negotiate, because it's all about having your framing overpower theirs.
Yeah. And
you can use your height as a means to do that, which is what he was doing in this show. He was overpowering their framing with his own, and one of the tools he was using was his height, and just his presence, his demeanor, the way he would kind of like. He had this way of coming in, which was, I'm saying things that verbally they are nice, but the tone indicates to you this is not going anywhere nice, and I'm going to fuck you up.
Yeah.
That was basically what was going on every single time, and it kind of made me hate him, even though he's on the side of good.
But is he though? I don't know. I know in the beginning I've been just very careful, kind of going, okay, well, I know that this is like a really bad thing, and like, yeah, okay, fine, it is. But then there is this sense of HARSHAD MEHTA is a scapegoat, like you've been saying, because like all the way to the end of the episode, he finally calls in his trump card, which is that Swami guy, right, who has connections with
all the way up the ladder
to the prime minister. And it's like, if this becomes a thing, he's threatening them and going, well, if I'm going down, I'm going to take you all down with me. Like, don't think that I'm not gonna blow the cover on this one.
I mean, he's been patient. He's been patiently taking the abuse and just sitting there quiet, taking the abuse, holding on to the secrets, just as the guy beneath him was holding on to secrets.
Yeah.
The one who worked at the office.
Sitaraman.
He was holding on to that big secret. And it's like, extrapolate from that just how big that is, the pyramid, you know?
Yeah, it goes up and up and up.
The upside down pyramid. And so it's just the weight of the secrets on HARSHAD MEHTA and what he's not spilling. It's like it gets to a point where he's ready to crack. It's like, yo, you got to get me out of this shit because this is just too much. And it's like his profile's screwed, his business is screwed, he's been humiliated, like he can't save face. Like, how is he going to recover from this? Everybody hates him. They made an effigy out of him and burned it. Like, he is really at rock bottom, and he doesn't have any choice left but to bring everybody down with him if they're not going to bail him out.
Well, it's interesting as well in this episode. I loved how Jyoti, his wife, finally had her big moment, right? And she had that really cool monologue where she was basically chastising Sucheta, right? And you rightly pointed out when we were watching it, you're like, oh, this sounds like a theme, like a major point, a message in the story, which is like, you all are focusing on the man, but you need to focus on like what's actually going on, like what the problem is. And that's kind of what's happening in this, with everyone being angry at HARSHAD. And it's like, it's a good distraction. Right? To just be like, we're all angry at you, HARSHAD, you're a liar, blah, blah, blah. And the public's angry, the press is angry. Like, and then so everyone can just be like, phew, everything is like, all the pressure is taken off me. No one's looking at me now. And it's like, no, you need to investigate like the real problem here.
It really invites some high level conspiracy theory thinking and talking. And the core idea of it is misdirection. It's always like, we're going to put this thing in front of you to distract you so we can do this other thing over here. And it's like every single conspiracy theory is about that. It's like, we're putting this thing in front of you over here and making this noise that you have to address like a red herring so that this execution over here can happen and you won't even notice it.
I mean, it's like what you always say, right? Bread and circuses.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like that's what fueled the whole like truthers with September 11th for the longest time, which is still ongoing. Like, there are still people out there who believe it was an inside job. And it's all just a red herring to make you freak out and make you, relinquish your freedom so that we have an excuse to go and get some oil.
Right.
And it all serves the people on top. So anyway, that is taking us down a weird rabbit hole. To me, that is the crux of the show, Anjali Bharot's speech there to the reporter, because it's like, you think about this show and you think about something like Wolf of Wall Street, where they were literally taking money out of the pockets of people who were like, they were preying on people who were just desperate for like a way out of this hole that they're in, to have something more, because they see celebrities and they see the wealth and the fame and all that's like, and they see their bills and the struggle. Like, we just would love to get out of this and have something nice, and they're just robbed blind. Right. That's a completely different situation than this HARSHAD MEHTA thing. He
was actually giving people profits. That's the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And it would have continued on if it wasn't for the journalistic, what's her name? Sucheta. Yeah, like if it wasn't for like that whole investigative angle, like everything would have been fine. The only problem he would have had was the bankers, right? And the stock would have continued to climb.
Yeah. So this serves their needs perfectly, because they wanted to take him down. And I mean, I don't know if he should have taken that deal that Tyagi was offering him, which is like 35% of the price of his holdings, which is like, what the hell, man?
It's hard to say. The thing about it is,
they wanted to destroy him.
I think that he probably should have taken the deal because he was going to lose anyway.
Yeah.
And it's like, you'd rather keep your ego intact and lose everything, 500 crores, and it's like, it's not just you anymore. It's like you got to take. If even Steve Jobs took a deal with Bill Gates, like, you got to take the deal, man. Like, you got to survive to live to fight another day. This is fine. Live to fight another day. If Steve Jobs can take a deal from Bill Gates, dude, like, take the deal. Your pride, your ego is not worth it, man. Live to fight another day. Dust yourself off. Get up, keep moving, and start over again.
Well, yeah, because like so many people are relying on him too. Like his friend who invested all that money. Yeah. All of his debtors and people who invested with him are gonna freak out, and they want to get their money back. Like there was that
violent.
Well, yeah, and there was that scene in the Gromore office as well, where like all the staff had the phones off the hook, and like you said, at the Bombay Stock Exchange, where the jobbers were literally being mauled by everyone else. Like that scene was really quite scary.
Well, this whole episode was really uncomfortable. The whole thing with the CBI investigator was almost making me mad. It's like, I hate this, especially with all the recent shit that's been going on in America. I mean, it's been going on for a long time. But the whole thing about how you have this individual who has power and you don't. And so they use that power to harm you because you can't do shit. That's the worst. And they just have this smile on their face as they're abusing you.
Yeah.
As they're physically abusing you and you can't do a thing. That is torture. That is literally torture. Now,
it's sanctioned, though.
Yeah, it just really messes with my head watching it.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's not like he's some fucking terrorist, you know, with bombs or something.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly what his wife was saying. It's like, there's terrorists and stuff, and you're focusing on this guy? Like,
right.
What the F?
But nevertheless, it's just like the idea that cops can just do what they want to you and there is no ramifications at all for that kind of behavior.
Right.
It's like you're innocent until proven guilty, man.
In the States, you are.
Well, in the States. But
Yeah.
I think that's just a sensible way to look at things. Like, until you have hard evidence, unquestionable proof that someone is guilty, they're innocent.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, ideally.
It's that simple. It's like there's a saying I saw a long time ago with my audience. It had to do with Salman Khan or something. I forgot exactly what it was, but I think it was Salman Khan. The saying is, where there's smoke, there's fire. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, I know that it's not just used by Indians, but I just noticed it more prevalently used with Indians, and it was with regards to Salman Khan because of I'm not going to get into it. But that's the thing. It's like, okay, fair enough. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Let's investigate. If you find something, cool. If you don't find anything, then you got nothing.
Yeah.
And so, for me, like, I don't like the idea of someone having power over someone else and just harming them and hurting them.
But then also, like, what was the legality of taking Harshad and his brother into custody? Because if I remember correctly, the guy, Madhavan, the investigator, he was like, well, we didn't find anything here, so let's go for dinner at my office. And then they just promptly put them in jail. It's like, but you didn't find anything, though. Where was the evidence?
Right, exactly.
You know, it just seems weird. And I guess that's why Sucheta and her buddy became involved. But I was just thinking as well, like, it just kind of occurred to me, like, this episode seems to be all about consequences, right? Because, like, everything is kind of coming around full circle. It's like, okay, Harshad has to deal with the consequences of his actions of, like, borrowing or stealing that 500 crore, right? And then Sucheta had that moment where she wrote the article about Fairwani, and then
something happened to him.
And then he ended up dying.
Yeah.
Now, we don't know if he committed if it was murder or
why
if
did
it
you
was
have to say the word?
Oh, sorry.
That's why I just saved you, and then you threw yourself off the cliff anyway.
Oh, yeah, because we don't know, right? Or if it was just that he was under so much pressure, or they investigated him too hard. Like that thing where he made Fairwani walk up 5 flights of stairs. I mean, I guess, yeah, he's a pretty fit guy. Like, he jogs every day. But did you see how slow he was jogging? Like, he's an old dude. You made him walk up 5 flights of stairs just because you could. That's some sort of sadistic behavior right there, and, like, disrespectful. I don't know.
Yeah, that's okay. See, that's the thing. It's like in the previous episode, they were making it sound like we're bringing in the big guns. It's like, but anybody could do that. Anyone can be an asshole if you give them just free reign
Yeah.
to be as powerful as they want. It's like you could stick anyone in that position.
Anyone who's a bully.
Yeah. And sure, it's like you're just breaking these people down until they give you the answer that you want.
Yeah.
I don't know. I understand that some people view that as the way to do things because it gets results. But I think there have been studies done.
Yeah, I was going to say.
On, you know, on torture, basically.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't work as effectively as you think it would.
Because eventually people just end up saying what you want them to say, and it may not even be the truth.
Yeah, just because they want
it to be over.
Yeah, they want it to stop.
Yeah.
Like the scene when he was being so mean to the dude, the banker, the boss at the banking office.
Oh, yeah, where he was, like, chastising him in front of his staff.
Yeah, it's like, well, of course you can do that. Like, because you have all this power. It's like, dude, does that make you feel good?
I was actually going to talk to you about that one because, you were saying how Madhavan's size, because he's so much taller, he's intimidating. But I found it really interesting that in that scene in particular, he sat down and made himself shorter than the guy that he was investigating. But I thought that maybe that was kind of like a move to show that he wasn't threatened or that he didn't care because he was just sitting there chill.
It was showing ownership over the scene, basically.
Right.
It was showing ownership.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, because it's almost like he was making himself a king in that scenario. I mean, he has displayed a lot of power, and I'd be very... I don't want to have any conjecture about where this is going, but I'm very curious to see if he has any moment where that
is stripped away.
I guess not stripped away, but like he feels a sense of weakness. I want to see him hurt. Is the short of it, because I fucking hate the guy. Like, I understand he's on the side of good. I understand what he's doing is for a noble endeavor and is righteous, and he's probably done a lot of good things in his life. But man, they set this up in such a good way where I fucking hate him, and I'm hoping that Harshad Mehta's sentence is not that bad, because it's not like Jordan with Belfast. This is completely different. It would have been one thing if consequences actually happened. If a lot of people were hurt because of what Harshad Mehta was doing before any investigations happened and whatever.
Right.
Like, if that happened, all right, yeah, you got me there. Like, but nothing had happened. If anything, it only happened because because the Oracle told Neo about the fucking vase. That's why it fell down. So, do you know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
So, it's just, come on. Anyway, it's getting me all worked up and it's late. You guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Hopefully you enjoyed something. Stay tuned for the next review. I'm Jaby KOAY. This is
Achara KIRK.
Peace out.